now. So welcome everyone. All this meeting is being live streamed. Here we go. Got it. Do we touch that? With your remote. Okay, here we go. All good. Okay, welcome everybody, and good to see you all. Thank you very much for your attendance. And we'd just like to have our opening karakia from Kato. Okay.
Kia ora tātou, me inoi mātou tēnei wā. He te atua anai mātou I koropiko nei ki mui o tō aro. Whakaarahia mātou ki runga I te kaupapa o te maunga me te ngahere me ngā tangata kei runga. Āmene. Kia ora tātou.
Āmene.
Thank you, Pato. Okay, we just went through our apologies, but I see we've got most of us here. One or two haven't put in apologies. Jim is just arriving now, and I don't think I've got one for Hiri. So everybody else is in. I think that we probably don't need to worry about apologies at this point. It looks like we're all here. Thank you very much. Okay, disclosure of members' interest. Any disclosures? Okay, let's move on to late items. Any late items from anyone? Looks like it's okay. We're now going to confirm the order of meeting. And would you like to have a move and a seconder? Thank you, Jim, and thank you, Graham. All those in favour?
Aye.
Yes, thank you. Okay, we've just got the minutes from last meeting, which was 17th of November. So if we just quickly scroll through these page by page, if there's anything that you would like to point out, page 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, a move and a second to confirm these minutes. Thank you, Phil.
I'll move. I'll second.
And Roger. All those in favour? Aye. Against? It passed. Lovely. Okay, we're moving along nicely here. And our next point is going to be the presentations from our CE for Maungatautari. Phil.
Thank you, Owen. Kia ora koutou. And just also, Dr. Janelle Ward joined me this afternoon as well. And Janelle will talk to the species update on the report. So if you've got any questions relating to species, please direct those to Janelle. So just, I guess in summary, the report covers the period from October to December 2021, and I guess it was a real another pretty dynamic quarter for the team. First and foremost, we were the recipients of Jobs for Nature funding, so we were able to induct 4 new rangers into the team, who will be split between biosecurity, so 2 doing biosecurity work, and 2 will be doing asset work, primarily around track and fence replacement. So that's in essence doubled the size of the team. Also, we were recipients of the New Zealand Tourism Award for Community Engagement. So that was a testament to all the great work that everybody's been doing over the period for the last 20 years. So that was good to receive that. And also we were managing, as we all were, COVID, and at that time it was Delta variant. So the obvious impact there has been visitor numbers, and also a real downturn in volunteer contribution as well. So we've seen that flow through in all of obviously the work that's been done, but also our visitor hours pretty much throughout 2021. So, but that's just the normal operating environment for all of us, I guess, and you know, we're all learning to cope with that. And just going into the main body of the report, so year to date, there have been 9 incursions of pests, and just picking up from last report in October, where we following on from the detection in October, incursion responses were put in place, and all areas there were no further detection of rats. And we brought the rodent dog through in December, and we were given the all clear with no strong indications of rats at that time. We've also deployed a series of cameras in certain areas along the fence line, and we've detected in September 3 possums that were duly caught, and also a possum fourth possum was detected in November, and there was a possum incursion response established, and that possum was trapped and caught. At the end of January, there were still responses in the northern enclosure and the Tautari wetland for mice, although both are showing a couple of trackings in each, and all, at the end of January, all other responses were clear. There have been 10 fence breaches at the end of the year. Notably, November, we had 3 in one day. When there was the 3rd of November, there were 3 significant breaches as a storm front came through. And at our last hui, I did mention that we did have a notifiable event, accident on that day. And thankfully, the ranger is good and was back at work a week after. And also, work and safety were happy that it was an incident or an accident that had occurred as a result of just a one-off activity. Having said that, we have obviously reviewed, as we should do, all of the proceedings of that day. And as a result of it, we actually have deployed more weather stations onto the Maunga. And just last weekend was a good test of those systems. Interestingly, there were no breaches last weekend, which is good, which is obviously amazing, given the storm that came through. But interestingly, the week before, we actually did have three breaches in one day. Which have all got breach responses in place at the moment. But I think our reality is, as we all are aware, that the weather is becoming more extreme. And for our part, we are increasing the work that we're doing around the fence line, vegetation trimming and arborist work. But obviously that does come at a cost. And along with the additional rangers that we've been able to employ, we are looking to increase that work just to help mitigate those risks as best that we can. So I'd just like to hand over to Janelle now, who will provide a species update. Thanks, Janelle.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Just giving you an update on some of the species that work has been happening in the last few months. So, of course, we're continuing our Kiwi kohanga strategy, and this will be the final year of introducing Kiwi as founding birds onto the Maunga. At the end of December, we had 368 founding Kiwi that had been released. And just a note that that's not our total population, because our estimate is that we could have up to 1,000, including all the ones that have hatched on the mountain to date. We have initiated a process with DOC, who has a permit to transfer from Maungatautari to Tongariro National Park. And we have 2 Kiwi that are waiting to go there right as we speak, that are ready to go for an initial release. And this will really be the start of a bit of a trial period of harvesting Kiwi from the Maunga. And along with that work, this is why we've had all these cameras established around the Maunga to monitor Kiwi, which our Kiwi Ranger has set up, including a passive network of data loggers. And also he's been trialling in the last month or 2 some passive catch systems, basically like using cat traps. With our takahe this year, we have had unsuccessful breeding. So we still have the 2 breeding pair, and both of them have attempted breeding in the past few months. However, unfortunately, both pairs have failed. One pair was able to hatch a single chick, which we caught on camera on the western part of the mountain. And unfortunately, we never did see that chick again. And that was, we think it was due to a very strong storm event with heavy rain that actually flooded the lower part of that enclosure, including wiping out an internal culvert that we had to repair. And unfortunately, that pair never attempted breeding again this season. And the other pair that are in our Tautari wetland, they attempted breeding twice, and both times the eggs did not hatch. So some sort of infertility problem with the eggs, yeah, is what we suspect, but we're not exactly sure. I did talk to the Takahe recovery group about that, and do just get some bad years. This is the first year since I've been at Maungatautari that we have not had any new Takahe chicks, unfortunately. But yeah, we know that they will attempt again next year. There was a very slight chance that they may still breed, but we're sort of passing that time now. Moving on to kakapo. In the last 3 months, the sanctuary received $10,000 from the Department of Conservation to build a prototype fence barrier. And we had George Colvert coming out and doing some trials on site with some different building materials. And we were able to come up with a prototype design. And we used 2 different materials to see which one would be better. And we sent those videos back for feedback to the kakapo recovery program. And they seem pretty happy with what we're doing. And we're now getting a quote in place for actually how much that will actually cost to put right around the mountain. And in the past few months, I also found out about some alternative methods of monitoring, which we have been discussing with a company called Wildlife Drones. And that's quite exciting, but it's still just in the sort of ideas stage at this point. And we also have some kakapo transmitters that were sent to us, and the aim is to trial the distance settings in a range of terrain at the mountain and just see what sort of signal strength we're picking up and for how far we can detect them. With our titipunamu, they were released as a new species to Maungatautari in May and June last year. And we were supposed to do a pre-breeding survey as part of the permit requirements, but unfortunately we were all locked down with COVID at that stage, and that had to be postponed. But we were able to proceed with our summer research intern, who did start in December and has now completed his research at this time. And that was great because he's doing a lot of quite in-depth surveying of the areas around where they were released and tracking up into the mountain. And he was the first to detect new juveniles hatched on site at Maungatautari. Other surveys for species have been postponed but will be continued in 2022, and that includes frogs, fish and lizard surveys. And then towards the end of my report, there is no new research in this period. The research projects listed there are all continuing studies, mainly through Waikato University. And that's me. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much. Now, are there any questions for either of our speakers?
Oh, Madam Chair, just a quick one from me. I'm just wondering, apart from the obvious, when you have a breach event, 20 years on, as you mentioned, Phil, is there any sign of any component on the fence or in general that you're worried about right around the fence that's going to be a significant cost in the near future? Because obviously when it was built, estimating how long it'd last without major repairs, and we all know even a good fence on a farm after 20 years, it starts to get a bit saggy in places. So yeah, are we up for some major replacement type costs?
So Jim, we have. So the short answer is we've started the replacement program now, and that's part of the Jobs for Nature. So we have had excluded through and we've got a program of replacement that we've started now. So all of the replacements going into GIS. And so the short answer is there's nothing that's, all of it needs to be replaced over the next sort of 20 years. But we've started now rather than waiting, and we're working through. So as fences get destroyed as part of a tree falling through, and we're just literally working through logically now, starting and looking for the parts that we believe should be replaced. But there's nothing screaming at us, and really, provided we start now in a planned way, we should be fine.
Yeah, oh, great. And just the other comment I'd make is it's great to see the number of Kiwis at a point now where they're being exported off the mountain.
Yeah.
And I always felt that was going to be the real, or one of the real benefits for the project, was as a seed source for numerous species, I suppose, eventually. And I think it's probably timely that there's some effort given to actually putting a value on that. I don't know anyone's going to pay you, or pay the trust, but we know what the cost of translocation back to Maungatautari is, so we should really be keeping a tally of what we're saving other projects around the country, so that we can identify just what in commercial terms the value of the project is.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the projects we've been working on is the development of biodiversity units. So I've been working with an organisation called ECOS, and what we have done and what we're in the process of doing is actually creating a registered biodiversity unit. And the first release of those will be April of this year. And so through that, we're actually saying that conservation has a value. And we believe we've got our first order of about $50,000 worth. So it's actually quantifying and taking that, creating a unit and getting the units verified through a proper organisation, and then it will also be audited as a process as well. So we'll be able to share more information at our next meeting on that, and I'll no doubt hopefully bringing some units that are for sale. Yeah.
So is this similar to carbon credit?
Yeah, same principle.
Yeah.
And these actually can be stapled onto carbon credits as well. So for us, and the business that's expressed a very keen interest as a significant local business who want to be able to demonstrate and quantify the good that they're doing locally. So obviously, from being a good corporate citizen, but I mean, obviously great for their brand as well, right? So that's we're almost there with that. It's been going for about 2 years, that project, so coming to fruition shortly. It should be great.
Thanks.
Okay, any further questions?
Can I just add a last little bit to my report, please?
Yes.
Thank you. And just an update, we've finally got the education centre. So that starts we got the building consent through this week. So we have our blessing on the 28th of this month, and then we'll start build first or second week of March, and it's a 24-week build. So that's exciting. And in terms of the Kakapo fence, quote is circa 800K. So we've got, and also the Kakapo Recovery Group have suggested they'll be putting a decent contribution to that cost. And we've also got applications going in on the 2nd of March to lotteries and going to our usual community funders as well around that.
I just missed the value of that, Phil. Did you say 100,000?
I wish it was 800,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's an exciting project, and we're just finalising details of a dinner that we're having at Karapiro, and that will be on the 9th of June, and that's being supported fully by Montana Catering through their Bite Lab subsidiary, and we've managed to secure 30 New Zealand artists who are all going to create 30 unique Kakapo pieces of art. And we're going to auction them on the night as well. So yeah, I feel confident we'll get to the 800. the challenge will be the ongoing management, and that's obviously a discussion with the recovery group and DOC.
Yeah.
So the fence, Kakapo fence is actually an attachment to the current design?
Janelle, would you like to?
Oh, Janelle, here we go.
Yeah, the way I've been describing it to people, which seems the easiest, is if you can imagine the possum covers that wrap around a tree currently to stop possums climbing trees. It's like the same as that, as a very wide band going right around the inside of the fence. It's about, the band goes about 1 metre above the ground-ish, so the birds wouldn't be able to climb up the mesh or get purchase on the wood.
Okay, so there would need to be some very careful care of the the plant growth beside that structure, so that they didn't get above and connect on again. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So
management.
yeah, and luckily that's a part already of the ongoing operational management, like Phil was saying, keeping the trees clear of the fence, because yes, kakapo could otherwise just climb along a limb and jump out. But that's why each kakapo will also be monitored, so that if there was a breach event or something like that occurred during the storm and a kakapo did run out, we will be able to pick them up from their transmitters and bring them back. Is the worst case scenario, but yeah, hopefully it doesn't come to that.
Is there any risk that that new design will limit the self-emptying ability of the fence now? Because obviously rats and possums, if they get caught in there, or stoats, can climb up and jump out. Is this would stop that, would it?
No, so the design is actually quite good. It actually has a bit of a gap behind the panel, so that a rat or a stoat or a weasel or whatever could still climb up behind the barrier.
Great.
Yeah. Probably a possum would be stopped from climbing out, but from what we're gathering, they don't want to climb out anyway. So we'll probably still have to monitor for possums as we are now.
Exciting, amazing to have the kakapo on mainland available to everyone and anyone. It'd just be such an incredible event to be having. Very exciting.
Exciting, yes.
Yes.
All right, any further questions? Okay, well, thank you all very much for your presentations, and we need a move and a seconder. So we have, thank you, and I'll second. Those in favour? Aye. Against and passed. All right, now we're moving on to the final item, which is the Hicks Road access, and Sally's going to present to that.
Thank you very much, and kia ora everyone. Just following the update provided at the last committee meeting in November, documentation was processed through the Māori Land Court the week prior to Christmas, which allowed the Hicks Road access to Maungatautari Scenic Reserve to be open from the 1st of January 2022. So quite a significant milestone there. What I just want to do is share some photos just as a reminder of what that access is and how you work through the site, and also just some of the signs and some works that we've still got to do in that space. So I'll just share a screen with some photos. Okay, so just on this map here, it's just identifying that car parking is outside the Maungatautari marae, and there is a short walk from there up until the new track start. So the track itself follows the fence line through, as you can see on the stars on the map here, and it comes up this side of the gully and the stream edge, and then up the top through along the edge of the fence to get access to the northern enclosure. So there is a bit of a difference there for our community to access the site with parking outside the marae and that short walk that is required to go up Hicks Road. Since opening, and so in terms of, these are photos of that access track that are a few years, a little bit old at the moment, but essentially is providing that access up through, as you can see, up through the top here, up to the access of the northern entrance and enclosure there. In terms of since opening, we have installed signage that is directing walkers from the car park up the road and across the new track. There are also further works to happen, which includes, so these are some of, this is the main sign that is outside the marae, providing advice on how to get up to the entrance. And we've also got signs along the way in terms of getting to that track and what you can do on the site. We are getting some additional signs as people have tended to been going across private property still. So we're doing more signage for that direction there. In terms of on-site as well, there is some additional things that we need to do in terms of the road corridor. One is at the end of Hicks Road is to really make it clear that there is no parking at the end of Hicks Road, as you can see there on the left-hand photograph, and also creating safety in terms of pedestrian access. As past the marae there, you'll know that the road does narrow a bit, so we're looking at options there to provide clarity for road users that pedestrians will be on that corner, and then further up there is more space on the side of the road for people to access. We are, so in terms of you can see the sign is already installed there. We will also be developing a toilet in the car park area outside the marae. So that is a project that is in process at the moment to be installed. So I'll just stop sharing my screen there. So from that perspective, to date, we've received really positive feedback from people who are using the track, and a lot of support to say thank you for it to be open. And we are getting feedback around ideas to improve one section of the track, which goes out closer to the fence of the northern enclosure, which is quite steep there. So we are looking at options there to make that a little bit less steep. We've also got anecdotal feedback that there has been a lot of people using the track since it's been opened, and you know, really I've been up there a couple of times and seen families walking back down, so it has been well used, which is fantastic. We continue to work with both the Anawata Trust as well as MEIT around the access, so ensure that clarity of direction is there for our users, and also to ensure the upkeep of the track maintenance now that is open. So great news that it's open, and I know I see that Gary Knighton may be also on the meeting, so if you've got any questions on that, please go ahead. But I think a great opportunity to recognise this milestone and getting that track reopened and access now across the whole Maunga in terms of walking access and then access again into that northern enclosure. So happy to take any questions.
Sally, I'd just like to just thank council, our landowners, and obviously staff for all of the work you've done over the last 3 years. It has been well received, and certainly will make a difference. So just acknowledging and thanking you for that.
Oh, thanks, Phil.
Yeah.
Kia ora, Sally. I just do have a question. In your presentation, it said that it was a shared path, and just to be careful on the shared path, does that mean just still foot traffic or vehicle access as well?
Just foot traffic on the path itself. Obviously, the main shared part, which is around the road users, is that connection from the marae to the end of Hicks Road. So what I suppose the messaging that we're looking with the transportation team for that section of the road is to share with care for both cars and vehicles, as well as pedestrians, but the rest of the track itself is pedestrian. There is emergency access that does go through the Dellinger property as required, and access for MEIT on that side, but not from the end of Hicks Road.
Thank you.
Okay. Well done. It's so good to hear that there's been lots of foot traffic and enjoying it up to there, because it's been a struggle, but well done everyone for getting it through at last.
Yeah,
Top.
congratulations to everyone. Well done.
Okay. I think we need to move in a second for receiving your report for the Hicks Road.
I'll move that one.
Thank you.
I'll second.
And Graham. Oh, and Jeff. Here we are. Thank you.
Thanks.
All those in favour? Aye.
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 And passed. Thank you very much. All right. Well, I think we've covered everything. There's nothing else anyone wants to bring up. Otherwise, Odo, if you could close our meeting, that would be great.
Thanks,
Was it a
everyone.
meeting?
Could I raise
Was it a quick
something?
meeting?
Oh, wait on. There was
Whoa.
somebody that wants to raise a
Oh,
question.
sorry.
Andrew, is it no?
Yes.
Yes, Andrew.
Phil,
Yes.
Phil, after the last meeting, which unfortunately I was apology for, I mentioned to you that I had been approached by Lightforce, who have provided a free solar system to a similar institute, if you like, to MEIT, and I suggested that they might like to consider providing solar energy to Maungatautari, to which they expressed some interest, and I mentioned that to you. I'm just wondering, A, did you follow it up? B, what was their action?
And you're on mute. Phil. Thank you. Yep.
Yeah, Andrew, I did follow up, and it was, gosh, it was probably about 4 or 5 months ago now. And to be honest with you, since the delay to the project, there's been no other movement on that. So still able to follow up with them. But I did make contact pretty much straight away.
Yeah, well, I would encourage you to follow that up further, because they've shown to have a philanthropic heart. They're a very fast-growing solar provider, so could be quite valuable for us.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Okay, no further questions? Okay, thank you, Odo. You do the closing, thank you.
Oh, kia ora tātou, me noi. Kia tātou katoa, te ata whai o tō tātou ariki a ihu karaiti, me te aroha o te atua, me te whiwhinga tahitanga ki te wairua tapu. Ake. Āmene. Nice to see everybody.
Thank you for your attention.
Mā te wā.
Lovely. All
Thank
good
you very
there.
much, everyone.